Chapter 49. What do you want, Midgery Sow? Again, reader, we must go backward before we can go forward. We must consider for a moment what had occurred with the rat and the serving girl and the princess down in the dungeon before Despero made his way to them. What happened was this. Roscaro led the pea and Midge deep into the dungeon to a hidden chamber, and there he directed Midge to put the princess in chains. Gore, said Midge. She's going to have a hard time learning her lessons if she's all chained up like that. Do as I said Roscaro. Maybe, said Midge, before I lock her up, her and me could switch outfits so we could start in already with her being me and me being a princess. Oh, yes, said Roscaro, certainly. Wonderful idea, Miss Midgery. Princess, take off your crown and give it to the serving girl. The pea sighed and took off her crown and handed it to Midge, and Midge put it on and it slid immediately right down her small head and came to rest quite painfully on her poor abused ears. It's a biggish thing, she said, and painful. Well, well, said Roscaro, how do I look? Midge asked, smiling at him. Ridiculous, he said, laughable. Midge stood, blinking back the tears. You mean I don't look like a princess? I mean, said Roscaro, you'll never look like a princess no matter how big a crown you put on your tiny head. You look exactly like the fool that you are and always will be. Now make yourself useful and chain the princess up. Dress up time over. Midge sniffed and wiped at her eyes and then bent to look at the pile of chains and the locks on the floor. And now, princess, he said, I'm afraid that the time for your truth has arrived. I will now tell you what your future holds. As you consigned me to darkness, as so I consign you, too, to a life spent in the dungeon. Midge looked up. Ain't she going back upstairs to be the servant maid? No, said Roscaro. Ain't I going to be the princess then? No, said Roscaro. But I want to be a princess. No one, said Roscaro, cares what you want. As you know, reader, Midgery Sow had heard this sentence over and over in her very short life. But now in the dungeon it hit her full force. The rat was right. No one cared what she wanted. No one had ever cared. And perhaps worst of all, no one ever would care. I want, cried Midge. Shh, said the princess. Be quiet, said the rat. I want, sobbed Midge. I want. What do you want, Midge? The princess said softly. What do you want? What do you want? Said the princess. Don't ask her that, said Roscaro. Be quiet. But it was too late. The words had been said. The question at last had been asked. The world stopped spinning, and all of creation held its breath, waiting to hear what it was that Midgery Sow wanted. I want my ma, cried Midge into the silence. I want my ma. Oh, said the princess. She held out her hand to Midge. I want my mother too. And she squeezed Midge's hand. Stop it, shouted Roscaro. Chain her up. Gore, said Midge. I ain't going to do it. You can't make me do it. She took the knife and held it up. If you have any sense at all, said Roscaro, and I heartily doubt that you do, you will not use that instrument on me. Without me, you will never find your way out of the dungeon, and you will starve to death here or worse. Gore, said Midge. Then lead us out now, or you're going to become little rat bits. No, said Roscaro. The princess shall stay here in the darkness, and you, Midge, will stay with her. But I want to go upstairs, said Midge. I'm afraid that we're stuck here. Unless the rat has a change of heart and decides to lead us out, piped in the princess. There will be no changes of heart, said Roscaro. None. Gore, said Midge. And so the rat and the princess and the serving girl sat together in the dungeon as outside the castle the sun rose and moved through the sky and sank to the earth again and night fell. They sat together until the candle had burned out and another one had to be lit. They sat together in the dungeon. They sat and sat, and reader, truthfully, they might be sitting there still, if a mouse had not arrived. Takes us to chapter 50.